Hello and welcome to my tutorial on how to retire or deregister a stake pool on Windows. Actually, retiring a stake pool is almost the same as the process in registering one. The only difference is that instead of submitting a registration certificate, this time we are going to submit a deregistration certificate to the blockchain. So basically, we are going to create a transaction and attach a deregistration certificate and submit it to the blockchain. And we also need to specify the epoch number that you want your pool to retire. Now, after submitting the transaction with the attached deregistration certificate to the blockchain, you need to wait for the pool deposit to be sent back to your payment address. And together with the pledge amount, you can now withdraw your funds. And after withdrawing, that's the only time you must deregister your stake key. Now, in case you change your mind after submitting a deregistration transaction, you can simply just submit a new registration certificate before the chosen epoch ends. That will nullify the first transaction that you submitted, which contains the deregistration certificate. Again, I have provided you here a step-by-step guide on how to deregister your stake pool. It's located in the description section of this video. So the first thing we need to do is to query the network and determine the latest epoch number on the network. So if we go to our command prompt and query the network, it shows that we are currently at epoch number 329. Now, if you want to determine the maximum number of epoch that you can retire your stake pool, we can simply query the protocol parameters. So let's do that and open the file which we generated called protocol.json file. So the poolRetireMaxEpoch is set at 18. So basically you can use the maximum number of epoch, or you can effectively retire your stake pool immediately by simply adding 1 to the current epoch number, which is 329. So that is what we are going to do here in our case. We are going to retire our stake pool on the next epoch, which is 330. So we are going now to generate a deregistration certificate and save it to a deregistration.cert file using the cold verification key that we generated when we first register our stake pool. So let's do that. Let's now generate a deregistration certificate on the command prompt. So if you check the file, it's here now, our deregistration certificate. So what we are going to do now is create a transaction and attach this deregistration certificate file. But before we do that, let's proceed with the next step, which is we are going to query our payment address if we have enough funds for the transaction. So let's check our payment address for the list of UTXOs. So here we have 4 transaction hashes. So we are simply just going to select one of these hashes, which contains the needed funds to submit a deregistration certificate transaction. So we are going to use the first one, which contains 3 added tokens, or we can use the last one, which has less than 3 added tokens. So let's use this one instead. So we are going to copy this transaction hash, and remember the transaction index, which is 0. Now let's paste it on our template here for the next step, the transaction hash and the index, which is 0. So we are going to generate a draft transaction for us to be able to calculate the minimum transaction fee. So, and also don't forget, we are going to attach now our deregistration certificate in this transaction. So let's do that. Let's find out the minimum transaction fee for this transaction. So now that we have generated our transaction draft file, we then proceed to calculate the minimum transaction fee using that draft transaction and attach the protocol parameter files or the protocol.json file that we have generated. Okay. So as you can see, it shows here that the minimum transaction fee is 178,745. So let's do that. Let's put that on our template for us to calculate the change. So now let's paste the transaction fee on our template. Let's also copy the balance of the transaction hash that we are going to use, which is here. This way we are able to calculate the change that we need to send back to our payment address. So if we subtract the transaction fee from the balance, this is going to be our change. So let's also paste that on our template. All right, for the next step, actually, we are going to first determine the time to live for our transaction by simply querying the mainnet, and we are going to add 10,000 slots on the top of the current slot. So let's go and again query our mainnet. So the current slot is here. It's 568,85561. Let's copy that also and paste it on our template, which is the TTL or the time to live. So the current one is this, and then we are just simply adding 10,000 on top of that. All right. So again, the fee we need to copy here and paste it here. Again, let's copy the transaction hash, which contains the funds, and of course the index. And lastly, the transaction out, we are going to send back the change to our payment address. And the change is this one, the total amount that we need to send back. All right, so we are now ready to build a raw transaction, attach our deregistration certificate before we submit it to the blockchain, after signing it with our signing keys. So let's proceed with the raw transaction file. All right, so the raw file is now here. So the last step, or the second to the last step, is now we are going to sign the raw file with our payment signing key and our code signing key. That is why the from the previous step, the witness count is set to 2. Because we are going to sign it with 2 signatures or signing keys. All right, so now let's proceed with signing our transaction and output that into tx.signed file. All right, so here's now our transaction before we can submit it to the blockchain, which is the last transaction or the last step that we will perform. So transaction has been submitted successfully. So all we need to do now is wait for the deposit to be sent back to our payment address. Now, let's again query our payment address for the transaction hashes that it contains. So as you can see now, the previous hash that we used from the previous step, it now contains the change that we calculated a while ago, which is here. So the transaction fee has been deducted and the change has been sent back to our payment address. Now all we need to do now is wait for the pool deposit before we can withdraw all our funds. So we are basically done with all the necessary steps to retire our stake pool. All we need to do now is wait for the current epoch to finish, and then once it's finished, our stake pool will be retired, and only then our pool deposit will be sent back to our payment address. Once we receive it, you can now send your funds to another wallet and retire your stake pool stake key. All right. So if you want to find out how to generate a transaction to send all your funds from your payment address to another wallet address, there's a tutorial actually that I have done already, which is how to create a transaction and submit to the blockchain. You can follow that tutorial if you want to transfer all your funds from your payment address of your stake pool to another safe wallet that you hold. So thank you. This wraps up our tutorial on how to retire a stake pool on Windows. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.